I love sneaking into dark and dusty corners of places to see if I can discover some secrets or mysteries. What's this? Underwood typewriter. Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Yvonne Davis, and today I'm going to be starting a new series of videos. So we're right in the midst of the holidays, okay? We are about to move into the year 2023 when I'm starting this, and I thought, what a perfect time. So I'm going to call this series Write a Book with Me in 2023. So I hope that you will join me, and together we can accomplish our goal this year in 2023. It's like setting a New Year's resolution. We're going to do this year. Well, let me start by saying a little bit about myself, which is that I have self-published some nonfiction books, The Power of Manifestation and In the Magic Flow, which are a journey of personal transformation about how I went from being a full-time paralegal to becoming self-employed. And I've been self-employed since early 2009. So it's going on well over a decade now. In fact, if I do the math, no, not quite at 15 years, but well over a decade. So if you're ever interested, it's very easy to find my books on my website or get in touch with me by email, and I would be happy to sell you a copy. So, and you can also find them on Amazon, obviously. Here on my Creativity Seeker channel, I want to do all kinds of things related to creativity and in particular writing, because that is my passion. And I have been teaching creative writing since 2007, when I started working for Colorado Free University. I taught the 12-stage mythic structure for many, many years, and I taught the artist's way. I love teaching. And the other thing I would add is that I have a master's in fine arts in creative writing. I am starting a new novel. It's titled An Intimate Knowledge of Time. So if you're interested in joining me, we will go through the process of writing a book together all year for 2023, or until, it's finished. In 2023, I am ready to dive into this next project, which, as I said, is a novel. It's speculative fiction, meaning it's got some fantasy elements. There's time travel, romance, magic. So I could go on and on talking about it. But what I really want to do is sit down at my desk and get started. And I want you to join me in this process. One of the things I've often heard very successful writers say is that they treat their writing like a job, like a full-time job. Now, many of us already have a full-time job and we're writing in our free time. So it really depends on where you're coming from. One thing I can say for sure is that discipline and structure are pretty essential to the process. It's not to say that you can't produce a piece of writing, a good piece of writing, or that you can't produce a lot of writing if you don't have that structure and discipline. But I would say that the people who can just do it through inspiration or spontaneously whenever they feel motivated are going to be extremely rare, meaning that in order to be really successful, to get published, and to produce a significant amount of really good writing, most people are going to need the structure and discipline. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. And so that's part of why I'm making these videos, is because I want you to watch my process. And it also helps me to think about my process and to think about structure and discipline. So I like to start pretty early in the day. That's when I do my best writing, is in the morning. All right, I'm coming back to give you an update on where I am with this project. So I've basically been working on it all day, and I just want to explain, because you may be watching my process unfold. And I work on my PC computer, which is in one corner of my bedroom, and I also work on my laptop. And I like the laptop obviously because I can move it around the apartment and I can go out, if I want to go to a cafe or something like that. And I also write in my journals. So I even record sometimes, like audio record. And so there are lots of ways that I'm getting my word count. Eventually, it will all get compiled into one file. So as an example, if I'm working on my PC computer, then I will save those onto a thumb drive so that I can bring it back and forth between my PC and my laptop. And when I write in my journal, then I try to make sure that I get it typed into the laptop or the PC. I try to do that within 24 hours, because I found in the past that if I let it pile up too much, then it just becomes overwhelming and doesn't get done. So that's part of my process. So you're watching me use all of these different processes: the PC, the laptop, the journal, and again, sometimes I will even do an audio recording, if either because I don't have access to the other writing tools and I can just like record something on my phone when I need to, or because sometimes if the words aren't flowing very well, like trying to get it on the page, either typing or writing, then if I can speak aloud, the words flow a little bit better. Then I can transcribe them. Then I have, the typed version that I can work with, so that can help with writer's block, as an example. So I also wanted to say that I work in 5,000 word chunks. And so the reason why I do that is because I got in the habit of working with a book coach / freelance editor, development editor. And many people who write professionally, or even, if you're just writing for your own pleasure, or you're writing on spec, which means you write it first before you sell it,
then many people, they hire a freelance editor. In fact, it's becoming very common in the industry. And the reason for that is just simply because the industry has changed. It used to be, literally, if you watch the movie Genius, you will see how Thomas Wolfe actually brought his handwritten manuscript into his editor, Max Perkins. And he worked for Charles Scribner and Sons. And they would actually have people who typed up the manuscripts. That does not exist anymore. The industry has changed so much. And nowadays, you rarely even have an opportunity to submit your work directly to a publisher. Rather, you're going to be submitting to an agent. And so they're called the gatekeepers now, because you almost can't even get your work to a publisher unless you have an agent. So that's really important. That's the first step if you want to get published, is you have to get an agent. But here's the deal. They want manuscripts that are absolutely perfect, that are like perfect and publishable instantaneously when you send them. That means they're not only typed, but they are absolutely perfect. That's why you have to hire your own editor nowadays, okay? And that may be very disappointing for many people to hear, but that's just simply the way the industry works now. That has now fallen onto the writer, that you have to hire a freelance editor. Obviously, if you know someone who's a professional and can do that for you, then that's fine. Maybe they would be willing to do that for you for free. Or if you know someone and you can do some kind of trade, that might be another way to get that work done without having to pay for it. Or if you trust that you're good enough to do that yourself. But the thing about it is, if you really want to get published in this extremely competitive industry, I recommend being willing to make that investment and hire an editor. I mean, almost everyone in the industry is doing that now. And that way you have someone who is a professional. They know exactly what they're doing, and they can do. Sometimes they'll do developmental editing, which has more to do with the structure of the novel, like the plotting and the character arc, and or copy editing, because these are two different things. And so, anyway, they can help polish your manuscript to make it so that it is publishable when you send it to an agent. Okay, that's just part of what's expected now of you in this industry. So that's why I work in 5,000 word chunks, is because I got in the habit of working with a developmental editor that I hire, and I send my work to him in 5,000 word chunks. And usually it's like 10,000 words a month, sometimes more, but that's the minimum. So that's how I normally think about it. And that's why I say, like with this novel, I'm at 10,000 words, because I've sent my first 10,000 words to him. And then I will work on the next 5,000 word chunk, and then the next and the next, et cetera, usually working at a pace of a minimum of 10,000 words per month, and sometimes more. So that's where I'm at in my process. I would love it if you would share your process. Just go ahead and put that in the comments below and share with me and everybody else, so we can see how, what is the process. Because the thing about it is, I think, especially when you're new, but even when you're, like an old pro like I am, we still have this feeling like, do other people do this the way I do this? I don't know. Let's find out. So I've shared with you my process. Go ahead and share your process. All right, I'm back to work. All right. Well, this day has turned out to be reasonably productive in spite of all the challenges I've been having. So I was able to do my self-employment work. I had an appointment with a client this morning, and so that went off pretty well. I only started having computer problems at the very end. Fortunately, I was able to get the appointment done before all these problems started. And then I was actually able to meet my deadline. I just got under the wire with maybe 8 minutes before the deadline, got my submission sent to the agent. And now I am pulling up my editing program so that I can basically take all this footage that I've been filming of this writing process and get it downloaded into my editing program so I can make this video for you. So I will start working on that now.